Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I am very excited to announce a little project that has kind of been in the working for a couple of weeks now. Today I'm going to be doing a interview style with the manager of the Retro Attic. So that is the store that I've talked about several times on this channel already, and I've shown a little bit of clips from it or photos and some other videos, but today you'll get a first-hand look at what all he sells there, and kind of like I'm just going to kind of ask a few questions about, owning a physical media store in the year of 2023, and just kind of what that looks like and how he got started. So sit back and relax and just enjoy this video, and I will have a little outro at the very end. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I am sitting in one of my favorite stores of all time. This is the Retro Attic, and I'm sitting across the table here with the owner and the manager and all the other positions of the Retro Attic. So this is my friend Kevin, and we're just going to talk about the store and just kind of just talk about some of the fun things about it, and just owning a physical media store in the year of 2023. So Kevin, welcome to the channel. You're the first person that I've had on the channel, actually, so that's exciting. But why don't you just tell me a little bit about like the history of the Retro Attic, or just kind of how you got started in this whole business?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. So for me, it started out as a hobby. I think that's kind of, with the folks that I've talked to that have toy shops or have music stores or have various types of facilities like this, it started as a hobby and a passion. I love to collect, and I love all the physical media, and I love the items from the 80s and the 90s, and things from my childhood. So everything just takes me back. So yeah, it all started more as a collector, and then it kind of evolved into buying collections and keeping some of the items that I wanted, and then selling some of the items that I didn't want. And that was fun, and I enjoyed that part of it. So I realized that that I could make a business out of it, and here we are.
Cool. And I know you haven't always been in this space. Why don't you tell me a little bit about like where you started, and just kind of like how it's evolved into like where we are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I spent the last 20 years as a general manager of a car dealership. Which was great. Lots of fun. Had an awesome experience. Amazing company that I was with, but I just found that I did not have the quality of life in regards to time management or work-life balance. It was just a lot of hours in that business, and I was missing things like kids' games and what have you. So yeah, I took a big risk 2 years ago, and I put my notice in, and I got into the mortgage business because it was going to give me a more flexible schedule. Well, with that flexible schedule and being able to enjoy the kids' events and not miss things and birthday parties and what have you, I noticed that it also gave me a little bit more time to do what I love to do, which was buying and selling things. So I kind of started kicking it up a little bit more than just a hobby. And I was doing it primarily out of my garage. I really don't do much as far as online sales. I enjoy people and meeting people and that aspect of it. So I don't enjoy spending all day packaging and shipping and that type of thing. So I kind of follow what I like to do. So I was just selling out of my garage, and it got to the point, as I had a little bit more time on my hands, I became more successful at it. And I would have weekends where, my wife wanted to kill me because I'd have 15 people coming over to the house to root through albums or horror movies or what have you right in the garage. So I knew at that point that I either needed to stop doing it altogether or take it more serious. And as fate would have it, and the stars started to kind of line up, I decided to lease some space and give it a go. So at first it was just part-time. But the demand for this type of product and being able to find it for good value, and being able to find good stuff at good value, I just got busier and busier. And as I was getting busier, more people were bringing me items that they no longer wanted, that I could find another home for, because then there are people like you and I who really enjoy this stuff. And it took off to the point where no longer I could do this and something else. this kind of took over. So I expanded in the building that I'm in and took more space, and I've done this literally as a full-time gig now since basically January 1st. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and so where did the name Retro Attic come from? Because obviously a lot of the viewers, they might have not been here before, so they don't know like physically where we are within a building.
Yeah. So the building that I'm in is an old historical building it's kind of in a little bit of a triangle. It's an Akron address. It's kind of right on the border of Greene and Springfield, but it's an old historical building right on the corner of Massillon and Mayfair Road called the Tritz-Higgy Mill. And back in I believe, if there's historians on here, I apologize for chopping this up, but I think it was like back in the 1800s, it was an actual mill. And then over the years, it was various things. A lot of folks come in and wander around, and they talk about the memories they had as a child coming into this building, and getting apple cider, or it was a hardware store at one point, those types of things. So long story short, I leased the upstairs of the building. Was the first phase of this, was really just a few rooms in the upstairs of the building. But because it was upstairs, the idea attic kind of came about, and I threw it out there to my family and my daughters, and I was like, hey, what do you guys think? What would be a cool name? And awesome enough, they came up with the name, and I loved it and ran with it. So that's where the name Retro Attic came from. So I'll often have people say, well, what are you going to do when you're not just upstairs? Which, ironically enough, is happening very soon. I'll be taking the entire building. It still is synonymous with cool stuff that's been packed away from your childhood and put up in the attic. Some people put it in the basement, but Retro Attic sounded better than Retro Basement. So that's where we ran with it.
That's awesome. And then I guess what all do you sell here? Obviously you sell, as you see behind us, like the horror VHS and DVDs, but I guess what all products do you sell here?
So I think that's probably the most fun aspect of the store, and the feedback that I get is that people will say that it's not like a store that they've been in before, because there are places that you can go where you can find a lot of movies, or there's places where you can go where you can find a lot of music, or there's vintage clothing shops or toy shops or what have you. But the idea of going somewhere and finding it all under one roof is a little more rare. And so I would say the answer to that question is a little bit of everything, really. Like, if it is just got that cool, retro to me, which is kind of scary because it shows my age, retro to me is like 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Whereas I remember not that long ago, retro meant 40s and 50s, which really, I think, meant more antiques. And maybe this is the new antique. I don't know, but retro to me is anything from the 80s. So I've got, sports memorabilia, anything that I can come across that has that 70s, even 80s, 90s feel to it. Lots of pop culture. So if I come across something, even Rick and Morty, even things that aren't really considered, retro or that old, it's still pop culture and it's cool, and we love those things. So tons of t-shirts. This is an entire horror section. We have a movie room that is specifically just all DVDs, VHS, Blu-ray, 4K. A couple rooms that are filled with vintage t-shirts and newer pressing t-shirts, but all used. That's the best part, is there's no distributor for this type of thing. Like, you can't, sell 5 t-shirts and then just jump online and order 5 more of the t-shirts you just sold. Like, it's all thrifted. It's all, pre-owned items that came out of either people's collections or personal collection or closet or what have you. So, but yeah, other than that, board games, a huge section of board games. There's tons of video game systems set up on old, console TVs where you can come in and play video games. Lots of music, lots of CDs, lots of, albums, just lots of fun stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know I've found like a lot of variety of things here, but I mean, I primarily get movies, but I guess what is the most unique or like the coolest item that you've seen come through here?
Yeah, so that's a tough one too, just because there's so much that flows through the store, and I think that's been really the most exciting part about the store, for not only for me but for the guests that come in and shop and buy and what have you. And I have a lot of loyal people that I've met, you know, over the last year. But it's just such a random flow of stuff. It's priced very aggressively, so most items in here don't really have that long of a shelf life. Like, things sell pretty quickly. You know, you might see something and think, well, I saw that 6 months ago. It might be another one. I might have found another one and the original one sold. So, so yeah, it's hard to quantify how much stuff has come through the shop, you know, in even the last year, as far as trade-ins and what have you are concerned. But, you know, I'd have to say, for me personally, it was kind of on my my holy grail bucket list. And I know the camera can't see it, but maybe in the tour you'll be able to show it. But the old Sour Patch Kid display, I thought was super cool. It's one that I tried to hunt down when Blockbusters and Hollywood Videos were going out of business, to no avail. I wasn't able to get my hands on one. And, you know, lo and behold, I think it was you and I that were talking about it one day, and I was mentioning about it being my holy grail, and jumped on Facebook, and boom, there was one that not only was for sale, but was just discounted. So I drove an hour and a half away to go grab it, and that's probably been my my personal grail that's in the store.
That's awesome. Yeah, those are. I remember when Family Videos were like going out of business, the Sour Patch Kid and the M&M guy. Those were pretty much the first things to disappear. But do you collect anything like personally? Like, do you have anything that whenever you're out buying things for the store that you see that you're like, oh, I want that for my personal collection?
Yeah, so, you know, I think like a lot of people, you know, and I get to meet so many different people in this arena because of what we do, that there are a lot of people who like hone in on one thing. Like, this is their item. This is what they like to collect. And maybe once they've collected all of that, then we start to move on to something else, and then to something else, etc. And before you know it, you're collecting a little bit of everything. And I would have to say I'm probably guilty of being that guy, which is probably why there's so much diversity within the store, because I love all this stuff. So if I'm out and about hunting, as you will, and I come across something that I like or that I personally would like to have in my collection, that's what you end up seeing in the store. As far as personally, I'm not sure that I have much of a collection anymore, because as I started to do this, my collection kind of became the store. And, you know, but if I had to say one thing, I'm a huge Cleveland Browns fan. I'm a huge Cleveland sports fan, Ohio State Buckeyes fan, which, you know, I would say my personal collection, my man cave, if you will, it comprises mostly of sports memorabilia and that type of thing. So I'd have to say that's probably my number one.
Cool. How do you like price things?
Yeah, so that's a great question, actually. I guess first and foremost, my candid answer would be I price it to sell, and that's the most important thing to me. Is that I am not trying to have a museum for people to just come and mosey around and enjoy and say, wow, that's really cool. And then I'm trying to price things so that they can find a home and someone else can enjoy them. So the research that goes into any random item, I do use eBay a lot, because eBay will give me like a good raw perspective as to what something is transacting for. You know, of course, I don't look to see what they're listed for, because that's irrelevant. I think a lot of people do that and make that mistake. But you know, you look at the completed transactions, you see how quickly something sells, you know, what the sold history is, how recent does this item sell, and what did it sell for. And if I see that, and I don't pay any attention to shipping, so that alone gives the item a pretty hefty discount. So if I see something selling for $50 very consistently, and it may also accompany $10 in shipping. So now you're looking at a $50, $60 item, in my opinion. But I don't even worry about the shipping. If I see something selling for $50 consistently, I'm probably somewhere in that $30 to $35 range. I do get a lot of pushback, not from obviously buying customers, because they love the price, you know, scheme, but I do get a lot of pushback from people that I know that are like, why don't you bump your prices? Like, you literally could, you know, and maybe there's some competition that get frustrated by it, but I've actually had competition come in and buy, and that's cool. I'm okay with that, because, you know, I enjoy the thrill of going out and finding more stuff. And I'm very fair on trade evaluations. I'm very fair on making offers to people. I get great feedback that sometimes the competition maybe offered a little bit less, and that's okay. So the margins are a little bit smaller. I don't mind that, but I sell a lot in volume. And so for me, it's important to me that it's priced below market and it'll sell fast.
I mean, obviously, as a buyer, I also like that because it's. There's definitely been times where I've come across something here that it's just way cheaper than anywhere else that I might shop, and it's good stuff too. It's not just just Dollar General or Dollar Tree DVDs or anything. So I'm always happy to come across things.
I appreciate that.
I guess you briefly touched on this too, but where do you get like most of your inventory? Like, do you do trades, and like if so, like how does that process work?
So that part's been really nice. The personal side of this and meeting people and getting to know people like yourself. Like you've been coming to my garage, I think, for probably the last 5 years at least.
Yeah.
And we got to know each other and became friends. And for me, there's probably another 20 to maybe 30 guests that come in here and shop that we've become friends and we've become close. And so there's a level of trust that comes with that. And, I learned a long time ago in the business that I was in that it's all about how you take care of people and all about how you carry yourself in regards to, personal relationships. And I think because of that, there's a high level of trust. So I've had quite a few people that I've met through here reach out to me with their personal collections. And, maybe unfortunately, as sad as it is, someone's passed away and they're left with this stuff and not really sure what to do with it. Or, maybe they're just downsizing it. Or maybe after coming in here, they realize, wow, I've got a whole tub of VHS movies that are just collecting dust. I don't want them. I'll bring them into you. I've had quite a few people actually just gift me things, and honestly, I don't feel right about it. So I force them to take some money, just because I know that it's an item that's about to sell and going to create money. So like, I feel like that needs shared with them. So, but yeah, trade-ins are a big part of it now. And which has been amazing. I've been in quite a few people's homes now where I've had the pleasure of like kind of rooting through their stuff and like, making a pile of really cool stuff that I can share with other people. Outside of that, it's nonstop. If I'm not in the store, I'm thrifting, or I am shopping, or I am looking. Garage sales, I love the garage sale. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. Thrift stores are another great way, but it's a lot of work. And I understand why most people don't want to spend countless hours walking through thrift stores just to find one little item. But when you can put forth more time to do those things, I call it hitting singles. I might spend the day hitting thrift stores, and at each thrift store only find one VHS tape or one great Blu-ray or one toy or what have you. But in my mind, I'm hitting singles. If I'm hitting singles all day, then you're gonna score. So yeah,
it's cool. And I know obviously you sell like a lot of different items, but overall, what would you say is like the most popular item that you see people buying?
It's a fun question, and it's fun to watch the flow of different things, because it changes rapidly, and then it switches back. So, I'll go for a while where, albums as far as music is concerned are the hottest thing I have. And then all of a sudden CDs start to pick up a head of steam, and then it's like everybody's coming in and buying CDs, and the album sales kind of slow a little bit. But then albums will pick back up. So there's a nice flow of stuff that goes in and out of the store. But I'd have to say it goes back to that same bit of diversity. Like, I would say that there's a nice balance of things that walk out of the store and that people buy. I sell a lot of T-shirts. I stock about probably 700 T-shirts. And I probably am at a point now where about 200 to 250 a weekend in T-shirts are being purchased. Albums are a great seller. CDs, I can't almost keep them in stock. Like, it's amazing. But I do keep them in stock. Lots of movies. The horror section can get really popular at times, and then there are times that it kind of like just fades for a few, and then it gets popular again. So it just all depends.
Okay, yeah. So since you've opened the store, like what are some like challenges that you have faced with having a a physical media store in the year of 2023, or like what have you learned, I guess, since you've opened?
Yeah, that's again another great question. I think for me and for the Retro Attic, not necessarily for the business itself, it's been a matter of keeping up as one person. My wife works a full-time job. My daughters actually worked in the shop during the summertime, but they're teachers, so they were right back to work, once fall got here. So for the most part, for most of the year, it's been myself, and trying to balance being out there finding items with being open so that guests can come in and check the place out. Has been a little bit of a challenge. So, my hours are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I'm open Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 1 to 7, and then on Saturdays from 12 to 5. So I feel like maybe there are times where I could be letting some people down because maybe their best shopping days are Mondays and Tuesdays and I'm not even open. Or maybe they work until 8 o'clock and I'm already closed at 7. So it's something I really want to focus on moving forward. I was fortunate enough to have one of my guests that come in and buy a lot of things and very passionate about this approach me about wanting to work here, which worked out very well. So she is so she just comes in and works part-time and loves it. And so that's helped me a lot to be able to get out there and on Fridays and Saturdays and still be finding more things. So it's just been keeping up with the growth, I guess, is the short answer. It's the store's moving fast, and I'm trying to keep up with it. And at times it can be a little challenging, but I mean, I can't say enough. I wake up every day and I'm just like, I pinch myself. I'm like, is this real? Like, am I really doing this? Like, I'm not going and clocking in somewhere and working in, the car business as an example, for sometimes 12, 13, 14 hours in a day. Like, I get to do this. So it's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know working for yourself is like one of the best feelings, like, because when I went full time into working for myself, it was just, I don't know, it's amazing not having to clock in and work for someone else, and I absolutely love it.
It's awesome.
But I don't know if you heard the recent news of Best Buy potentially like stopping to sell physical media in the store. It sounds like they're going to be, just not doing that anymore. So what do you think, or what are your thoughts on like the state of physical media in the year of 2023? Because I know some people exclusively use streaming, or they might do a mixture of both, or because obviously you sell a lot of physical media. I guess, what do you think do you think it's like thriving, or do you think the state of it's just kind of like slowly declining over the years?
So I think that there will always be a balance. I think that there are a lot of people who would prefer the ease of streaming and to not have to fumble with putting a DVD in or putting a VCR tape in or Blu-ray, whatever the format is. But I honestly believe that this will stand true forever for every person who would prefer to do that. There's somebody who would prefer to physically have some media in their hands. Again, just going off the feedback that I get from the people that I've had the pleasure of meeting and getting to know, right? There's generations that come into the store that love this stuff, and that's the best part about it. Is it's not just my generation, who grew up in the 80s, maybe the 70s, and this is the stuff they grew up on. There's a generation like you and where you didn't necessarily grow up on this. You grew up on streaming. I have a 10-year-old that's all she's ever done is stream. I mean, she knows because of the shop, but realistically, she'd have no idea what a DVD was or a VCR or a cassette tape or what have you was if it wasn't for this. And there's a lot of people who grew up without physically having something in their hand except for their phone and watching that media, and now they're of age, they have jobs, and they've got money, right? And they're like, what am I going to spend my money on? And they're like, wait a minute, they love this. They love the artwork. They love the vinyl. Like they love peeling out, you know, a freshly pressed vinyl album and listening to that sound, and maybe an older album and hearing the crackle. You know, there's just something about physical media that in my mind will never go away. Now, I think what's happening at the Best Buys and at that level is they're finding it a lot harder to sell items at that price. And that's what's happening. So they've got real estate in their store, you know, and I've seen Target shrink, and I've seen, you know, the words we're getting from Best Buy is that they're completely phasing it out. And we watched Best Buy's, you know, media department shrink down to almost nothing, you know, before they've made the announcement that they're getting out of it completely. And I think that's what happens when you're hoping people are going to spend $20, $25, $30 on one bit of entertainment. You know, whereas on the secondary market, you know, the movie room is filled with $1 movies, and so so I don't think it'll ever go away. I think that if anything, that may help the secondary market. You know, once Best Buy is not selling them any longer, you know, it could raise the demand.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So.
And I know the demand of like vinyl has skyrocketed over the last few years. I mean. But yeah, I agree. I think like overall physical media will, like, especially like the people who love collecting one specific thing, like, I mean, horror VHS, like, you know, a few years ago you could get them all day long for, you know, super cheap or $1 or nobody wanted them. But now, like, as you said, you know, people remember them from their childhood and want to go back and buy them and stuff. So yeah, I think it's, I agree with you. I think it's going to, you know, come back. But so this is going to be a harder question to answer, but what is your favorite movie of all time and why?
Yeah, wow. I pretty much gravitate, you know, I guess let me think of it like this. I throw movies in here all the time, and so I find myself often back in the movie room picking a movie to throw in on the television, and there's almost every choice imaginable under the sun, and I'll be over there struggling on what should I throw in. And but I tend to constantly gravitate to 80s movies. Like, it's just something for me personally that I have that feel when I'm watching an 80s movie. It takes me back, and that was my time frame. Everybody has their time frame. For me, it was 80s. Within that decade, gosh, it's hard to choose one, honestly. Like, there's so many movies that I've forgotten more movies than I remember as far as movies I love. You know, but the Sure Thing is a movie that I've always liked. I'm a big John Cusack fan, so I like a lot of his movies. But, you know, as far as like the typical 80s movies, you know, Pretty in Pink, St. Elmo's Fire, Breakfast Club, you know, those are movies. I love watching Ghostbusters. I can watch that over and over again. E.T. is another one that is from that era. But yeah, there's too many for me to pick a favorite, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like that's most people's answer.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah. Shawshank Redemption, I will say that's a movie that I get glued to it every time, you know.
Have you ever been down to the prison where they found it?
It's amazing, actually. Like, it pulls you right into what that life was probably like, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. My wife, she took me down there for my birthday, and it was just
sweet.
It was so fun. It was
That's awesome.
But this is probably even a harder question to answer. But I know you sell a lot of music and vinyl and CDs and what have you. But like, would you say that you have a favorite band or singer or just like genre of music that you like?
You know, it's kind of the same answer as far as I'm all over the place, and I always have been. You know, there's a wide range of music that I like, but I can hone that down to one of my all-time favorite bands. I guess I'm probably guilty of being a little bit more of an easy listening kind of person. Although I've been known to listen to some heavier stuff as well as rap. I do like country, like I am. I'm all over the place. But Steely Dan has always been one of my favorite bands. I mean, I've always really enjoyed listening to their music. It's the kind of music that I can throw in, and I don't care what CD it is, I can just let it play. Where there's a lot of bands that I really like a lot, but every now and then I find myself wanting to skip over that song because it's kind of annoying or it's not what I want to hear right now. Whereas Steely Dan, I can just plug it and go and just listen. So yeah, that's one of my favorite.
Oh yeah, yeah. So why should someone shop here compared to, going to another like brick and mortar store or like just say online or something?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the online part of that question will have a slightly different answer. The competition, the other brick and mortars, I would actually encourage everyone to hit them all. I mean, it's so much fun, and you're going to find different stuff at each one. There's nothing wrong with some comparison shopping as well, as far as making sure that you're getting the best deal or the best quality. So I would say that hit them all. Like, how do I stand out? I think price point, I would say, is probably number one. I've walked into some stores, some bigger chain stores that, not to mention names, and just been in awe of their selection. Like, there's just so much really super cool stuff, and I'm like, that's amazing. And unfortunately, sometimes in some of those places, I walk out without really buying anything just because there's not something on my list that I have to have. That's probably first and foremost. But secondly, from a value standpoint, there was just nothing that really caught my eye that is, wow, this is such a good deal, I got to buy it. Whereas I see that happen here a lot. I see people come in and they're like, literally, I didn't even have this on my list of items that I wanted to get, but your price is so solid. And this is so sweet, I'm gonna get it. So that happens a lot here. So I'd say that's probably a reason to come in addition to the fact that, the flow of fresh inventory is just so constant. Because of the price point, it sells fast, add more items. As far as the online portion of it, I would say please, whatever you do, get out there and experience the brick and mortar stores, because online is convenient and it's great. And look, I'm guilty too. Like, I order things on Amazon, like we all do. You can't not this day and age. Yeah. But to get out there and support the brick and mortar stores and the small businesses and what have you, it means so much to the small businesses and to the communities. But just as important, I think the deals are better. I really do. I think if you get out there, enjoy the day, go hit some shops, I think you're going to find things you wouldn't otherwise find. And more importantly, it's in your hand, and now you can make that decision whether or not you want it. And I think the deals are a little better because you're not competing with the hundreds of thousands of other people that are buying that same item online from their couch. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I would agree. I like owning my own small business, I try to, as often as I can, like go to small businesses and support them whenever I can. But yeah, I would agree that, I mean, I've looked up things on Amazon or stuff that I find here. I might just like check on eBay, and it's just consistently cheaper here than on eBay, because you're once you factor in shipping, and then it's going to take a week to get to you. And but I've known that I've come in here and things that aren't necessarily on my list, but I see it at a really good price point, and it's like,
Yeah.
I have to get it.
Yeah.
But last question, where can people find you? Because I know you're on a couple different social media platforms, and I know you briefly talked about your store hours, but if somebody wanted to come shop here, where could they go?
Yeah, for sure. So as far as physical address, it's 2475 Maslin Road, which is located in Akron, if you put in the Akron address. But you can Google me. I'm on Google. If you Google the Retro Attic, and then on Facebook is probably my primary platform. I do a lot of live sales on Facebook, without shipping. So you just come to the store to pick up the items that you just bought. And then I'm posting live videos a lot on my Facebook page. I do some of that as well on Instagram, not quite as much. We were just talking about that, actually. I got to improve on that in that category. But yeah, if you go to my Facebook page, which is the Retro Attic Akron, like and follow me on Facebook. My address, my personal number's on there. Yeah, you can contact me anyway and come to the store and check it out.
Anything else you want to add to, I guess, the viewers?
No, I can't. I'm a talker, so hopefully I didn't talk too much,
No,
but
you're good.
it's something that I'm super passionate about because I love it. I love it like you do, and like most of the guests that come in here on a regular basis do. It's so much fun, and so you can see that my passion exudes out of my personality when you meet me and when you're here and you're looking at items and stuff. So it's just a lot of fun. So definitely come check it out.
That's awesome. We're going to do a quick walk around of the whole store, so the viewers can kind of just get a feel of what's here and just how things are set up. But yeah, Kevin, thank you so much for doing a interview type of video. Yeah,
I can't thank you enough. Thank you guys.
cool. Okay, so we are outside of the retro attic, and we're just going to kind of walk around inside and just, I guess you'll just kind of talk about a little bit about, what things are and where things are placed to kind of give people a feeling. But
sounds good.
Yeah.
Welcome and come on in. So basically, just try to utilize every inch that I can as far as space in the store. And you'll see as you're coming up the stairwell, there's a really cool section here that just has a lot of posters on the wall and just different types of memorabilia. Pretty much everything is for sale in the shop, but there's a couple pinnacle pieces that are not for sale. But for the most part, everything is. So the hallway gets filled up. Try to change it up a little bit from time to time. But you can see cool artwork all over the walls. A lot of it's been framed with repurposed frames, things like that. So most of them are original prints, for whatever that means. An original print might be it's only 2 years old, but it's original. And then a lot of it is, of course, is like a repop stuff, and just all depends on what you're looking at. And then again, here in the hallway is just an extension of the entire store. So tons of really cool original blacklight posters. Lots of cool posters to choose from. There's some horror posters, a lot of music posters, things like that. And then again, there's a lot of, a lot of it that's an original U2 poster from the MGM Grand Hotel back in 2005, casino, I should say. But yeah, just super fun stuff that I love to come across, and I know someone will enjoy, so I pick it up and bring it in here. Pretty cool old Michael Jordan. From the 90s ballpark advertisement. So when you step into this room, this is what would just be considered the first music room. So pretty much most everything in this room is music. So tons of CDs. The CDs in the shop are all just $2 a piece. And then there's a lot of vinyl. So I have it sectioned off basically with brand new sealed vinyl. And then, of course, I try to keep the new releases, or new arrivals, I should say, in one section. So when I bring a collection in, it's a lot easier to find for folks. And then the categories around the outside perimeter are all alphabetized. There's a lot of soundtracks, a lot of blues and jazz, a lot of rap music, and then again, mostly just alphabetized stuff. And then lots of cassette tapes. The cassette tapes are all pretty much $1 a piece. With the exception of, as you get into some of the other music, the heavy metal stuff like that tends to go for a little bit more, but if it's not marked, it's $1 a piece. So there's a ton to choose from. And then moving out here into the hallway, the hallways are like another room, honestly. So that music room that you were just in, and then this room in here, were the first two phases of the shop. So opened up and had these two rooms and this third room right here, and then continued to grow. So this room is mostly horror. So this whole wall of movies, a lot of VHS tapes are all horror. And then there's Blu-ray, DVD, and then some 4K as well. Horror figures, just a lot of really cool, fun types of stuff in this room. As you pan around the room, it's a lot of toys. There's a video game section over here in the corner, which is, pretty extensive section. Again, I'm blessed with with folks that allow me, you know, invite me into their collections, and you know, and that's where a lot of this stuff has come from. They just don't have a use for it anymore, and I can help find a good home for it. So, lots of cool toys. I love the building. Again, if you can tell the old wooden beams all throughout the building. You know, it's got that rustic kind of home feel, like it's just super cool and comfortable in here. Some of the rooms you get into are almost like kind of like your bedroom when you were a kid.
And this was the Sour Patch Kid that you briefly mentioned earlier, which is just awesome.
I don't know if you can get a shot of it, but the building location is so cool. There's actually a river right behind the building and a waterfall that's right behind the building as well. So it's very scenic. A lot of the stories that I get, like I said, people tell me about how they used to fish in the river back there when they were a kid. And so just a lot of history in this area. But the building itself is just so amazing because, again, it used to be a mill. And there's a lot of the effects of back in the 1800s, early 1900s, just the way it was. Moving into this room, I guess, would be what we call the second music room. So continuation of CDs. Probably at all times have about 5,000 plus CDs in the store, and then also more of a budget-minded section for vinyl. So a little 5, 4, 3, and then the rest are all $2. A lot of 45s that are $1 a piece that are primarily 80s pop music and rock and roll, mostly 80s, some late 70s, that sort of thing. And then, of course, some 90s as well. But more CDs, just, you know, the best part is like just the random memorabilia of stuff that gets picked up, like this Marantz Porsche poster. Like, that's kind of one of the coolest things I've picked up, I think, in my time. It's pretty neat. Most of the fun stuff is like hanging on the walls and just like hanging in little nooks and crannies. This is kind of where the t-shirts start. So they're all sorted by t-shirts that I just brought in, and then they get, sectioned into smalls, medium, larges, and there's another room that's filled with large and extra large as well. A lot of pop culture stuff, a lot of Kiss memorabilia, a lot of Funko Pops. Lots of vintage hats, if you look up above you, old beer signs, models, more posters. Again, the best part of these posters is that they are all original, like old school, like, old blacklight posters. That's pretty cool. It's an old 1990s 311 blacklight poster, but just really cool stuff that you'll find in here. A lot of it is kind of one-off stuff that, might find at one time, it sells, might not ever have it again. I picked up a pretty cool NASCAR, small NASCAR collection that I'm selling out of. So again, this may be a NASCAR section this week, and in 2 weeks it might be a completely different section because another collection comes in. So it's just a lot of randomness that comes through the shop. This is one of my favorite rooms. The movie room. So again, an entire wall of VHS and DVDs. Most of the pre-owned DVDs in the shop are $1 a piece. And then most of the Blu-rays that are used are $2 each. And then new sealed Blu-rays are $3 each. New sealed DVDs are $2 each. And then TV seasons are $2 each as well. So like that almost entire half a wall right there is all TV seasons. And then there's a lot of overflow in the middle. So a lot of Blu-ray, a lot of box sets, lots of kids movies, lots of new series on DVD. So there's just all types of like really fun stuff that you'll find in here, and it's never the same twice for sure.
I was going to say, whenever I shop here, this is definitely, like, I spend the majority of my time in this room or in the horror room because I've just found so much great stuff in here, and I end up buying TV seasons of things that I'm like, I'll eventually get around to watching it, but, I'd rather buy it on, a TV season and then, because next week it might be off Netflix or whatever. So it's definitely, like, I don't know, I love this room, and I just love your setup with everything. I think it's so cool.
Thank you. It is. It's so much fun. And then moving into this room, You know, again, the future plans, by the beginning of the year, down these stairs is into the rest of the building, which is really huge and it's super exciting. So the commitment is there to take over the building, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that for sure. But this was the final phase as far as upstairs was coming into this room. So I just try to make it as fun and comfortable as possible. It's got that feel with all of the like posters on the wall and the video game systems that are set up on the televisions, and the VCR on the old tube television. Like it reminds you, if you're an 80s kid, it reminds you of what your bedroom was like in the 80s, literally, except I don't think you had all these t-shirts in the middle of your room. But these are all larges and extra larges. And again, there's just so much to choose from. I mean, there's a lot of like single stitched, like old school vintage shirts. The prices are fantastic. I know there are some vintage clothing stores where that's probably a $40 t-shirt. You know, as a single stitched older vintage shirt, and it's $20. You know, most of the shirts in the shop, you know, are $10 a piece. And you'll find, like I said, band shirts, like this is pretty cool. Let's Party, Coke, and Acme Click is all you need. Like that's an old shirt there. That's probably like from the 80s. So just lots of fun. Tons of board games. More figures and toys and fun stuff, a large comic book collection, so tons of comics to choose from. These are pretty sweet. Found these at a garage sale, couldn't believe it. They're brand new Levi's jeans from the 80s. So they're 517 boot cut. And yes, they're extremely stiff. I could probably stand them up on their own, but literally not kidding. But they just need washed a few times. But those are like vintage jeans, probably straight from JCPenney's from the 80s. So I thought those were pretty cool. This just came into the shop. Pretty neat. Pac-Man jacket. Just fun random stuff. It's just always flowing into the shop. This actually just came into the shop with that jacket. An old leather Indians Chief Wahoo jacket, which is pretty cool. So it's just so much fun. So much fun.
Do that.
So yeah, that's a tour of the shop, and you know, hopefully if you haven't been here, you can make it and come check it out. I often tell people that, you know, honestly, even if you come in and you don't buy anything, it's just so much fun to come in and just have the memories flow with all the super cool stuff. So it is like a museum, but with garage sale prices. So you'll usually walk away with something just because you can't resist. So. Oh
yeah, yeah, cool. Well, thank you so much for showing us around. Hopefully at least one viewer or so can, if they're in the Akron area, that you guys can come check this place out. It's for sure my favorite store. I do a lot of kind of like what you said, of hunting for movies, and this is by far in this area the best
awesome
that I've found. So
that means a lot coming from you, so thank you.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love coming here, and I don't think I've ever come here and not walked away with something. So yeah, but yeah, thank you so much for
awesome.
Taking the time to do this whole video. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
And that was the interview with Kevin from the Retro Attic. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Kevin, for allowing me to kind of take up some of your time and just video the store. And thank you to my wonderful wife for helping filming this whole video. I couldn't have done it without you. And yeah, I hope you guys are able to make it to the Retro Attic. If you're in the Akron area, or even if you're in the Cleveland area or anywhere, like if you ever find yourself in this area, I would highly recommend checking it out. As I said before, it is my personal favorite store to shop at, and I always just find great stuff. So thank you again, everyone who was involved, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye.